All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the stream. And we're going to pick up right where we left off today with monster AIs. Yesterday we were talking about the Thunder Orb, and inside of here we were going to do something related to the active lightning bolts for the lightning emitter. But I was thinking more about how I wanted to do this, and I decided I wanted to actually change just how it's presented. So for one, we do set the start and end position based on when or where the target is, which is fine. That'll make it appear where it's supposed to. The only thing I really want to change is the base position. So our objective is that as the lightning bolt moves, wherever it would zap the target, its base position at least is fixed, right? So when we create these lightning bolts, we're essentially moving them relative to a previous direction. So for example, we can like do a mini whiteboard real quick. I don't really have like the proper tools for this, but we can just draw it out using mouse. Let's say we have this work? Okay, cool. So let's say that players around here and the orb is like this, right? This is the orb. And let's say it's sending out a lightning bolt, which will indicate with blue. Let's just make a new layer in case I want to move it. Let's say the lightning bolt gets sent out like this, right? So that's the lightning bolt. Just a quick little drawing of it. Now what's going to happen is this orb is going to continuously move towards the player. So maybe on the next tick, instead of being at this position, it might be at, I don't know, like this position, right? So because of that, we realize, oh, this lightning bolt is no longer valid. Like, we need to generate a new one at a different position, right? So we basically need to move or regenerate these to point from that new position, because it's just not going to look right after that. So I have like two options, and I was reviewing which one I might like more. The one I think we're going to go with is making it so we just generate the lightning bolts really fast. So if you like zap and then like almost immediately disappear. Zap, 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 zap. Emit them a lot faster, because the other option would be to make it follow this, but then I have to regenerate the lightning bolt. And then I need a certain timer to determine how often we refresh the lightning bolts, because each one of these is going to be different based on those two. So it's like, do I scale them all down relative to their like previous direction and like kind of squish it? Or do I just generate new ones at the new position at a faster pace? I think it's better to just generate them at a quicker pace. So if we go back to the Thunder Orb, I did have a frequency set here, I believe. Maybe somewhere down here, the lightning bolt tick rate, right? So it's in under settings, so we can go under monster strategies, and let's go ahead and try and modify it. So under here we have the Thunder Orb lightning bolt tick rate. We currently have it at 0.2 seconds. So I think what we're going to do is modify it to be like, let's say 0.01 seconds, right? But that also means it's got to fade out pretty dang quick, because we don't want to keep it sitting around. So right now the lifetime of the emitter is set, but let's see. Doesn't the lightning bolt need to fade out quickly? That's the part we have to figure out, right? Because when we generate the lightning bolt, let's see, it does have a fade out, doesn't it? But how long is the fade out? Is it like predetermined? Okay, so it looks like it's predetermined, and currently it's 0.2 seconds. Assuming that's the fade out, I don't know which constructor is getting used. That's the sucky part about doing this, is that sometimes we don't know, right? Which constructor this wants to use, because it's... let me see. Maybe this will make it more clear. Yeah, it doesn't know which constructor to use. We have to kind of look at them ourselves and decide. That kind of sucks, right? But I think It's probably going to be this one, but either way, this is clearly the fade out time, right? I think the fade out time should be configurable. Like, we should have to specify it as a parameter inside of the emitter, maybe as an optional parameter. I think I would like that. So let's just modify this under the emitter class. I'm going to add an optional parameter called fade lightning fade out speed. And let's make it like let's just default it to like, well, the default that was already oh, I put the wrong thing. The default was 0.2, right? So might as well specify 0.2 here. And then back in here, let's go ahead and actually set it. We're gonna need a parameter called lightning fade out speed as well, just stored inside the emitter. Load. And also these are backwards. I usually like to have the public on top and the private down below. Let's fix that. So we have lightning fade out speed. And then back over here, lightning fade out speed set to lightning fade out speed. Now we just use this to determine, in place of the 0.2, to determine the actual fade out. Like so. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Happy hump day. Halfway through the week. I hope everybody's doing well. So with this set, now we can actually specify and make it very, very short, right? Like, I would think the frequency and the lightning fade out speed would be like kind of correlated, but apparently they're not. Anyway, we've done that, so now we can go where we actually call this thing or construct this thing, and now just say, make it whatever we like, right? I think ideally it should be the lightning bolt tick rate. Let me think about that. It should be the lightning bolt tick rate because it's gonna be very frequent. Like, this is literally saying, at least in the current method, that's 100 times a second, right? That's a lot. Maybe I'll do like 30 a second, 20 a second or something. I think that's way more reasonable. Maybe even less than that. Like, we can try 10 a second. Either way, let's just do that for now and see what that looks like. But I think using the lightning bolt tick rate makes sense here. That's how long it takes for it to fade out after it's lived for, I guess... It would be like living half the time. If it takes the same amount of time to fade out, it'd be like... You would spawn the other one's fading out, spawn the next one, the other one's fading out, the other one started fading out. I guess you'd always have at least 2 then, if you did it that way, which I guess is fine, that's not a big deal. But now we get to remove the code we added yesterday regarding the active lightning bolt, as we don't need to do that anymore. So let's get rid of this, we'll get rid of this code. We don't need to add it to the list anymore. Yeah, so... we just decided that we're not going to implement it this way, which was my original idea for refactoring with the shared pointer system, but it's okay. We still found other reasons to use the shared pointer system in the end. Just make everything better, right? So we're gonna go with that. So now that we've done that, and we've set the start and pause properly when we emit them, I think it's time we go ahead and try it out. Yeah, we'll just see how that works. It's building right now. But yeah, today's objective is to finally finish the mages, pull request this branch, and then move on to another branch. We're probably gonna look at the next monster today too, at least figure out what we want to do with it. A lot of the monsters that are remaining are just variations of the main AIs of previous monsters. No, we did solve that yesterday, Moros. The issue was, and it was kind of stupid of me, was I left... let me see if I can find it real quick. It's always something stupid, right? Yeah. But... even though I added these like templates here, or not those, where are they? Down here. Even though I added these template functions in, I left the old add effect functions just like defined. So yeah, it was like we have duplicate definitions. Well, it was actually stupid. I guess so. But not even the compiler knew what I want, so it also thought it was stupid. I was giving you an out. Well, if it's stupid, I'm not going to pretend it wasn't. Alright. Thank you, though. Okay. Let's go see what this looks like. So, ideally, we just see the lightning orb zap with a lot more lightning. And we'll see how that turns out. If it's too much, if it's... okay. It's a bit too much. And we can also see it does... so what I really want, and I think this would be better, is if we are in range, regardless of if we're getting hit, the emit goes towards a valid target. I think that's really what I want to do. So maybe a property under the lightning orb that's like aims at target. And then if that property is set to true, instead of it just being random, it just zaps towards the player. So even if the player doesn't take damage, because right here we purposely emit an extra lightning bolt for the player taking damage. And maybe this one wants to be like just a longer lightning bolt, just like one that lingers, but for the other ones, if it's nearby, I do want it to hit or aim for the target. Speaking of stupid, I just realized I have to re-implement the mscript file system thing because it's missing things required to satisfy the promise of an OF stream drop-in. I patched Javid's data file utility to use my config fs, and it works perfectly on main 3 OSs, but mscript sort of grinds to a halt because I'm stupid as well. Well, we live and we learn, right? I feel like it's never easy with programming. Yes. At least you found out now rather than later. Okay. So let's add a property to lightning emitter. And we'll just call it... it'll be a boolean called aims at target. At targets. By default, it will be false. Now, does a lightning bolt emitter know if it's friendly? It doesn't know if it's friendly, so we're gonna need it to know that too, because it needs to know which targets it would have to aim for. So we'll make another parameter called friendly, and we'll set to false, and then I think that's all the properties we're gonna need. I'll sort it and it'll be awesome. I hope you make it awesome. Good luck with that. Okay, so back over here, those two values are initialized, but I do want to set them as parameters up here. I guess I'll add the friendly parameter here, and aims at targets as well. We get to use the new friendly tag here, or friendly type, which is what I would prefer. And we can call this, by default, it will be non-friendly. And let's just make another one here, because I don't really want to add like, because there's already a boolean here, and I know that's for the upper level. It's gonna get confusing if I just have 3 booleans in a row. I kind of want to make sure I understand, if I use this constructor, what parameters are being passed in. So really what I want here is, let's make another enum inside of here, and just call it aim at target, and it'll just be either aims at target or aims randomly. By default, we'll say it aims randomly. That way the default behavior when it comes to working in game doesn't get modified. So it looks something like this now. So I guess we could be explicit here and tie these to bools and say one is true and one is false. Okay, so we're gonna do it like that. That way I'm not confused up here. Actually, let's go back here first and add these two. So we have 2 new parameters. Well, that's a weird way to paste. Alright. So aim at target. And these are part of the end, so default parameters. So I'm actually going to slip these two into here. And then we're gonna have to make those changes on the definition as well. So no default parameters here. Assign aims at targets. Why is it called aims at targets float? That's not what I want it to be called. Aims at targets is set to aims at targets. And then we have, oops, friendly is going to be set to friendly. And that should be all we have to do. And then I apparently destroyed or got rid of the braces, so those go back. Something weird's happening. Nothing matches the specified type. Oh, that's what happened with the float. I understand now. It all works out. Okay, good. So, are we happy now? It looks like we're happy now. Okay. So, aims at target. Basically, when we're drawing a line to the target, instead of using the end pause, or well, we have an end pause set, so line to target is currently set, but if aims at targets, we're going to do something a little different. So we're going to grab all the targets, and I guess we would do this for every single target, which is interesting. And I guess this would go under emit. We can go like, we can think bigger picture, right? Is if we're here, we do this instead. Now, because draw lightning bolt relies on the end pause to determine where it gets shot to, what we can do is store the end pause temporarily in a variable called, like, previous end pause, and set it to end pause. And then we're gonna go ahead and now set end pause to new values before we draw each lightning bolt. Also, to make this a little bit easier, let's see here. I was gonna say we make like a target list or something for it to draw from. And I mean, we could. Let me think about that. We could do that, but I think what I was thinking was like maybe we just iterate through all targets and call draw lightning bolt, but I think I'd rather do it like this. And so at the end of this call, we're going to set end pause back to previous end pause. But the idea is we're going to have some kind of for loop that's going to iterate through all found entities, all found targets. These are going to be entities that are returned. So it's going to look something like this. Entity ent in found targets. We'll make a list called found targets. We'll iterate through those, and we're going to set the end pause to be equal to each of the entities' positions, and that will make the lightning bolt be forced to be drawn there. Yes. And it will still choose, I think, a random direction when it's created. Oh, never mind. It will actually just use the target line, which is perfectly fine. But yes, we'll have some standard vector of entities get created from the call to, let's see, game. We're looking for, game is probably included? Yes. So it would be game, get targets in range or something like that is what we made. Hello? Are you working? I guess you're not working. We have include game. We have adventures in Listoria defined. Does it just not want to get targets in range? It just doesn't want to resolve? In range. Like, it just didn't want to resolve, I guess. But yes. This would return const. And then in here, we specify our position. So it'll be start pause, going to radius. The radius will be... So that's interesting. The radius is going to have to be passed in too, because we don't actually know what the range is supposed to be. I guess we could get the distance from start pause to end pause. Anything in that range should count. In theory, if we're doing lightning bolt emitter, then we want to get the original distance. So it'd be like util distance from previous end pause to current, or to, it would be whatever, hold on, previous end pause to start pause. Yeah, so anything in this distance followed by upper level. Upper level will be just based on the upper level of this particular emitter. A Z value doesn't exist, so we'll just say 0. I don't think it matters here. And then her type. So based on the friendly flag, so if friendly is friendly, then return her type player. Or no, if it's a friendly emitter, then it needs to hurt monsters. Otherwise, it hurts players. Because non-friendly means we're targeting a player instead. So that's all the parameters there. It returns a list of anything found in that range, and it will draw a lightning bolt per target. Modifying the end position for each one so that a lightning bolt is drawn towards each found target when this is emitted. And it's going to be emit when Thunder Orb is messed with, like this. And because we're saying the pause directly to target, I would imagine that it would resolve to it being in range in this case too. So I think we're okay now. Now I'm thinking we don't even need this part. But then again, we do have to move it, I guess. So it's kind of like we're going through 2 hurt targets lists to do essentially the same thing. I almost want to make like the emit function actually just pass in a position. That way we don't have to do all this. We could just draw a lightning bolt wherever we want. And by default, it will do it from start to end pause. I think I like that better. And so I think in both emit and draw lightning bolt, a better way to do this. And then we don't even need these two right here. Like, these parameters can go away. Yeah, I like that idea better. So first implementation, I mean, it looks okay, but we can always do better, right? So I'm not a big fan of this. It's just too much extra work for very little progress in my case. And then in here, both emit and draw lightning bolt, we're going to say const vf2d target pause. I think that's a better way to handle this. So get rid of this. Well, so now we're going to call emit directly instead. But the default emit function actually does not work like that, right? So we still have to override this. Like, we declared override here, but that's not the correct version of emit we're allowed to override. So this is actually why we like to use the override keyword, is that if it doesn't exist, at the very least we'll know. Like, the compiler will say, oh, it's supposed to be something that overrides. Alright, that can be fixed. Like, the compiler now actually tells you if something's wrong. So this is the base function that we're gonna override to call our internal emit function with a target position parameter passed to it, which then calls draw lightning bolt with the target position also passed. So it adds an extra step, but the extra step is not a bad thing. It's just how we're implementing it. So down here, we can now call draw lightning bolt with the target pause passed in, And likewise for draw lightning bolt, we're going to now use that target pause here as well. So up here in emit now, instead of doing, well, all this, we're just going to call emit, passing in our end pause, because by default we would use from start pause to end pause. And that'll take care of the rest. So back over here now, while we could call emit, we can now just call target.getPause, like that, and that heavily simplifies it. So I'm much happier with this. Oh, but I guess what we were saying is that when it emits normally, it would also find target positions, right? So that still needs to happen. Shoot, I forgot the plot. Okay, go back. Wait, so do we want to do this or not? I think still having draw lightning bolts with a target pause here is a good idea, because then we can now be flexible about where this lightning bolt is going. I do like that idea, so we'll keep that concept. But we're gonna bring back aims at target and friendly type. That way we can still aim lightning bolts while it is just floating around. Because the idea is that Thunder Orb will keep being attached to the player, I guess, or monster, depending if it's friendly or not. And because of that, it's going to make it so we'll constantly see it getting zapped. So there is that. So we're gonna keep these. We brought back this particular version of the constructor. And we have to do const vf2d target pause here now. Again. And that's matching with end pause. This is now going to be const vf2d target pause. And then back over here. I think we're good. Do we have the float problem again? No. So that should be all we have to do. Good. Okay, so when we call emit, if we're required to aim at targets, it will do this. But we can also now call draw lightning bolt. So I'm actually going to make this public, and we'll just call it directly. So under normal circumstances, emit will call these, right? So we don't have to do this now. We can just pass it in, and then draw lightning bolt here would be end pause. We don't have to do this keep the previous position and set it back thing anymore. That's unnecessary. And then, yeah, everything else looks pretty good to me. We're using target pause here now. So now, instead of calling emit, we now call draw lightning bolt and provide a position that way. And I think that takes care of all of our requirements. A little odd and a little bit of back and forth with myself deciding how I want to design these structures, but we figured it out. How did you learn to code so much? Just practice over years. I've been programming for over 20 years, not necessarily just in C++, but you practice a lot, you make thousands of test projects, and you live and learn, right? Fail 1,000 times so you can learn from each failure. Yeah, years of practice and interests. It started off with being inspired, seeing like games run on like the SNES, the NES, seeing CDs, computer games on like Windows 95 and stuff. Heavily inspired by that when I was first starting. I also got the opportunity to have access to like a Linux box. So I got to learn all about that, play around with it, learn how to like host my own stuff, run software on Linux. It was a lot of fun. But my coding journey took me all sorts of places that I never expected. Do I use AI? I do not use any AI. Mostly because I don't feel the need to. I feel like the only benefit to using AI would be to speed up your coding, especially for more tedious stuff, but I'm in no rush. Like, I have no deadline. I'm not being pressured by my boss or anything, and I'm not expected to output X amount of code a day, so I don't really have a reason to use AI, other than out of curiosity. Okay, so I forget where this comes from. Let's find out. Let's see, I want types. Friendly type? Friendly type is from friendly... Oh, okay. It's literally the name of the header. Okay. AI lets me focus on the more interesting programming challenges. That is fair. Failure is a good thing. More often than not, your program becomes more robust when you account. Exactly. Every time you fail or mess up, that means the next time you encounter the same problem, you're steeled and more prepared for what's gonna happen. And Morrow says they do, but it's because they have no interest in writing boilerplate that already has been written in the past. I agree. That is a very good use case for that. Alright, let me try building this again, now that I included the friendly type header. But never really rely on it? Yes, I think the biggest trap to fall into is actually relying on AI to make progress in coding. If it's being used as a way to supplement your code writing, I think that's good. I mean, as long as you review it and make sure it's actually writing what you need it to, of course. But if you're simply relying on the AI to produce the exact code you need without, you know, reviewing it and also figuring out the concepts you need yourself, then that's the bigger problem, right? Like, let's say you didn't know how to do a star algorithm, right? Like pathfinding. You ask the AI to write some code to pathfind your monster to a flag or target. Given, like, certain obstacles, the player can move with WASD, blah, blah, blah. You specify a bunch of things so that it knows what the heck you need to write, right? And let's say that it writes the code for you. Well, did you actually learn anything from that? Or you just get copy-paste it? How do you know that it works? How do you know it works for all edge cases? These are all questions you now have to ask because you conceptually didn't do any of the problem solving. So you have no clue about what that problem entails in terms of, like, you can't even begin to debug it because you're unsure what you could debug in that problem. You just have to look at the code and be like, yep, that looks good to me. Yeah. But if you sit down and write it and then you're like, hey AI, I tried to do the pathfinding code this way and it seems to be like maybe the nodes aren't resetting, or like you keep getting the same path over and over when iterating. They can be like, oh, the error in the code is blah blah blah, and in your loop you didn't close it here, so it's like looping twice as much or something and creating duplicates. Something like that is a lot more reasonable because you're already in the middle of writing it and it's just maybe identifying a problem for you, or maybe you're stuck. But conceptually, if you need to learn how to write a star, you could consult like documentation for that. That's just an example I thought of off the top of my head, but I'm sure it can apply to pretty much anything related to AI. Yeah, like, it can be a useful tool. And it should be treated as a tool. Like, you use certain programs to make game development faster, right? Like, I use Tiled. I don't think I have it open right now, but yeah, like, I use a map editor to build my maps. Like, AI can be a tool that supplements your coding experience in the same way. And that's all I think of it. It's not like it's actually thinking for you. It's not like it knows what project your boss wants from you, right? It's not like it can produce if something new needs to be done, it can't create that for you. It only knows what already exists. Alright, so I think I need to pass parameters that I didn't. Oh, yeah. Okay, so lightning fade out speed, we need to pass in aims at targets and friendly. Aims at targets in this case would be true for the thunder orb. It will always be true. So I think I have to specify lightning bolt emitter aims at target, and then friendly type is going to be whatever the friendly type flag in here was passed as. The broadly sweeping issue with AI isn't the tech itself, it's that it's being pushed on developers to bridge a skill gap. Yeah, that makes sense. It's like, oh, we can circumvent the whole learning process and the need for X amount of junior devs, in most cases, because somebody can just type a prompt and there's our code. But that's not really how that works. Like, you can't just pull someone off the street, get them to write stuff in a prompt and expect it to result in anything better than a very simple program that works. Challenge accepted. God. That sounds like a great, like, YouTube video title. I grabbed somebody random off the street and saw if they could replace a junior dev in X company for a day. Here are the results. And watch the hell out of that. God, that's funny. I would love that. Yeah. Previous end pause is undeclared. Yeah, because I deleted it. Duh. But that makes the question, what is the radius now? I guess the radius is just end pause to start pause because we don't change end pause anymore, so that fixes that. Yeah, the problem solving skills, any like real technical challenge or issue is gonna be impossible to really solve with AI. At least not proficiently, or it might take way longer and burn much more energy. I think that's another shocking thing about AI too. It burns a hell of a lot of energy for certain things, like for very simple tasks. I feel like it's hard to justify the cost for what you need to provide for it. They're gonna have a use after free and see and understand why their app crashes. Oh boy. Well, now it just doesn't zap at all until it's right next to the player, which I guess is almost what we want. We're getting there. It also doesn't really zap at the player's position, so that's another thing, but I guess we'll figure that out next. Let me see. Why would that be? Zappy zap zap. Yeah, we're getting there. Oh, I see. The other zaps are using end pause as the reference position, so I didn't change all of these. I just changed the first one. Okay. So there's one issue. I used it in more locations. The second issue is, why isn't it just emitting like normal, like it's supposed to? Because it has a frequency, so according to the rules of emitter, under its update function, it should always be running. Unless I deleted the update function. No, it's being called in the Thunder Orbs update function, so it's definitely updating. And emitter has its update function, which gets called in general. So has last emit, and that gets modified. I feel like that shouldn't be a problem unless I just completely mess this up. Lightning bolt tick rate is set to timer? Wait, that's timer? Hold on. Something's not right. Frequency. Timer. Yeah, this is the lifetime. This is the frequency. And we changed it to like what? 0.02? 0.05? So it should be okay. And then it should be producing lightning bolts. By default, drawing them towards end pause. From start pause. Like, unless this is just wrong? I don't see how that could be wrong. Alright, let me just run it one more time with the fixes I have, and we'll go from there. We might have to debug. I got config.ls working properly now. Oh, nice. Congrats. I'm glad to hear that. Good job, Morris. Alright. At the very least, I now expect the lightning bolt spokes to not be so random when they're near the player. We still have to figure out the issue with it not doing it when it's nearby, which is kind of weird. Let's see what happens. Okay. So we can see it's now like kind of tethered to the player, which is more along the lines what I was aiming for this whole time. But during this period, it's supposed to be just like kind of zapping in random directions. So that part is not working great. So we still have to figure that part out. I don't quite know why it's not emitting during that time. So we gotta figure that part out. Death by zap. Another great thing to make AI do, if you have a header library and you don't feel like making an example usage of it, AI are great at doing that. That's very fair. I always imagined if I wanted to try using AI, hey, can you generate documentation for my, like, game code? Just, like, give it a header file in the implementation and just say, hey, please write appropriate documentation for each function, thank you. Maybe you can do something like that. It's pretty good at summarizing things. It's actually funny, usually after I'm done with my streams, I look at what the AI summary of my streams were, and they're usually pretty good. Sometimes they'll be like, the solution to it was this. I'm like, that's not it, but good try. Good effort. It's kind of cute, honestly. AI is cute. It really tries. Okay. Very good, AI. Get the snack. Here you go. Alright. Keep consuming all the electricity. Thank you. I love it. Okay. So, I guess first we need to figure out if it's consistently emitting on each tick, because it should be. I think I can do I'm pretty sure this won't be optimized out. Like, I'm pretty sure we can still just debug from here. Yeah. In release build, it's not optimized out, so let's just try this first. And just see if it's getting called constantly. That's the first thing we need to find out. Then afterwards, we can figure out what's actually happening with the lightning bolts. So we should see one, like, immediately after it spawns one. Like, a breakpoint. If the orb comes towards us, then we have an issue. Okay, so we got an emit. Aims at targets should be true. Oh, okay, this makes sense. So lightning bolt emitter does have aims at targets set to true, so if it doesn't find a target, right? Right now there isn't any target because none are in range. Alright, duh. I was thinking it would just go down here, but no matter what, we always have to draw a normal lightning bolt. So I guess we're always doing this. So, no else required. That makes more sense, actually. Just a little oversight. After this, we can commit, and I think we are done with all the mage stuff. We can do a quick look at Chapter 4 monsters real quick, and just take a look at the description one more time. So, speed up was already done. Thunder Orb. Creates an orb that slowly moves towards the player. 60% movement speed, dealing every second it's within 100 range of the player, 100% attack damage, lasting for 12 seconds. So I think we have accurately produced that behavior, according to the spec. So I think we're good to finally commit that. I still will figure out a graphic. I don't really want that little... I don't really like that little circle thing, but I'll probably have our pixel artist design one for us. But yes, I think we have... Oh. Okay. I mean, that's fine. I think I like it when the orb doesn't, or the zaps don't, aim in random directions when they're near a target. So maybe we'll do it this way. If aims at targets, if found targets is blank, or if found target's size is 0. Wait, we have dot empty, right? If empty, then draw lightning bolt. And then normal behavior is to draw lightning bolt. Okay. I think I like that better. One more test. And then after this, we just had to re-enable all the default mage behaviors, double check that I put all their percentages back to the default expected values, and then we're pretty much good to go. Oh no, we still have to do the mage walking behavior. We got a little bit of time to work on that today, because there's one more rule regarding them walking around. It's, so under here, where was it? So, the mage tries to move to an area that is 700 to 900 range away from the player and wanders around randomly in this area. If the mage is inside the effect area of a skeleton captain flag, it tries to stay in there as long as the 700 to 900 range can still be obeyed. So the idea becomes, if there is a flag nearby the mage, we like stop doing our runaway code. We don't strictly run away anymore. We just kind of stay put. But if the player starts getting too close, closer than the minimum distance, then we go back to run away. So there's just an extra, like, condition before actually running away. We no longer respect the 900 max range, we just let it, like, chill at the flag. So if it was 900 range away, it would stay put. Like, it basically tries to stay put within that flag. But yeah, so that's the only other thing we have to do. Okay. So this is correct behavior. Cool. I kind of wanted to emit more than one lightning bolt, maybe like 2 or 3 at the same time. I think that would look better. Let's try that. So, it'll be like triple emission. Maybe I'll just make another parameter that says like how many to emit every tick. Emit amount. So you know what? This sounds like a good general parameter. So because this is a derived class, if it's something that sounds good for a general parameter, I think we want to actually provide it in the Emitter class. So I'm going to make a new field, a new member called amount to emit. And by default, we'll make the parameter be 1, but it can be any number. And we can just I made it protected, so we can just modify it no matter which child class we're in. I could pass a parameter here, but yeah, I probably should, because depending on which lightning bolt emitter, we might want to pass 1 or 0, because we use lightning bolt emitter in another place in the game. So I can't just modify this one and assume it's going to be fine. So yeah, the amount to emit. So basically in the update function, when it's going to call the emit, let me go to it real quick. We're actually going to repeat based on that number for int I in standard ranges iota view, or excuse me, standard views iota view, and we're gonna say until, what was the value? Amount to emit? Call emit. We'll have to include or say using, I think. Standard views, or maybe include views, include ranges. Standard ranges views has no iota view. Oh, ranges. Easy. Expected a colon? What do you mean expected a colon? I'm confused. Why would we need a colon there? Is that not right? I feel like it's just behind, like IntelliSense is just saying that for no reason. I'm pretty sure that's correct syntax. So let's pull up the mage, skeleton mage AI, and let's take a look at it. So right now, if we're not casting, we just call the runaway strategy. But if we are within range of a flag, in this case 700 to 900 range of a flag, we're going to not do the runaway strategy until the player gets too close. Now if the player gets too far away, I don't know if we want it to sit there or just... because if it sits in the flag, like obviously it won't be chasing the monster anymore, so I don't know. According to this, it's according to the spec, it says it tries to stay in the 700 to 900 range. So I think if the player goes too far away too, it will resume the runaway AI, which is going to make it move closer when it's too far away. What else are you doing except game development? This is really all I do. I play Dance Dance Revolution as a hobby. So like behind me is a arcade gamepad setup with a version of the game called Simply Love. So, or excuse me, ITG Mania. So I play that a lot as well. I do play competitively. It's pretty intense. It's great exercise. And other than that, I'm usually just playing video games with my girlfriend. We play a lot of games together. It's fun. Okay, so did it complain here? It said syntax error missing a semicolon. Oh. Yeah, that is an error. It's supposed to be a semicolon. What am I thinking? Oops. That doesn't require a semicolon though, I'm pretty sure. Or oh, yeah, it does actually. Or wait. Hold on. Ah, there we go. That's what I meant to do this whole time. You don't initialize it if it's grabbing the value from the right side. Right idea, wrong syntax. Okay. Cool. Just a little dumb. Okay, so let's say we're gonna look for any skeleton flags. So we need to grab all targets in range, but then we need to filter those by anything with the skeleton flag. I guess in this case we have... Do we have a function to determine if it's a flag or not? I guess we're gonna find out. Let's look in the monster header. Is skeleton... So we have is skeleton mage, but that's not quite what we're looking for. I don't know about is skeleton flag. Also, why are we searching the whole solution? Most of the time I only want the current document. I guess that's when I was looking for types and stuff, so that's fair. I'll just leave it for now. Anyway, I guess we gotta search by, like... Do we have, like, a skeleton flag AI? That would be kind of weird, right? Oh, we do! So we can reference it by, strategy name. If the strategy is skeleton captain flag, we know it's a flag. Okay, I like that. Did this project build? I think we're... Okay, we finished building. Good. I just want to see it real quick. Oh, wait. I literally added a new line. Why is it recompiling? It's like, oh, you added a new line character. Let me recompile that for you. The code could have dramatically changed. I can't think of a scenario where adding a new line would break something. I guess it could. If you new line in the middle of a token, it definitely would. I guess it's just any given change. I could add like a space and it probably should recompile, right? That's safe to say. Like, I've never implemented my own compile system, so I can't think of a better way to do that right now. Anyway, like the way I think about it in my head is like, either way, you're gonna have to look at the file to know if it's changed. So if any change has happened at all, you might as well recompile it, right? Okay. This is fine. Wait, is it? Okay, well, we still have to make the lightning bolts zap more than once now. So we have to actually use that parameter. So under the lightning bolt emitter constructor... Yeah, I guess constructor. We want to make a function... Or function, we want to make, like, a parameter that changes that, right? Lightning bolts to emit. Put that under here. Set that to itself. Well, its local created variable. And let's now go back to Thunder Orb, and let's now initialize it with that parameter. So we're gonna make it emit 3 lightning bolts per emission. You can use OS-specific file descriptors to see if a file has changed, or you can write your own watcher that has its own hashes of the content. Right. Is not a non-stack... Oh. We have to set it in the constructor because it's actually a parent value. And I've always found this a little strange, right? Like, you can't set child parameters inside the like initializer list for a constructor, I guess is what we're calling this. So, oh wait, that's not right. It should be this lightning bolts to emit is set to the parameter. That should be right. No member. It would be... What is it called? Emitter? That's not right either. Wait. This should be valid. Like, this should be valid. Did it not work? It's protected, right? Amount to... Oh. Maybe we should use the right variable. Okay, that's a little better. But yeah, we can't do... At least I don't think we can do this. Pretty sure that's not allowed. Yeah. I think it has to do with, like, initialization, right? Like, it would have to make the base class first, and the order the parameters are in, I think, determines how it's initialized. But I also think the base class gets initialized first, if I'm not mistaken. Because, like, you can put these in any order. That doesn't mean they'll get initialized in the order you set them in. Which is a fact I learned not too long ago. The order of defined parameters in your struct matters, but... I think base constructor gets called first. That would make the most sense. I don't actually know that. This would be something that you have to study C++ in depth for to learn. Okay. Pull up the debugger later and see. But I know this does work, so we're doing it in there. What else? Alright. Now we should see like 3 lightning bolts instead of 1 at once. Still got a little bit of coding time today. Little bit of a short stream, but glad to make some progress today. And then starting tomorrow, we just get to do new monsters. Other monsters. So that's exciting. And then after this, I expect by Friday... We're working on one of the Chapter 4 bosses, which I have to start thinking about now because it has some very... This is the first boss that is not necessarily based on just, you know, creating monster abilities. It's very particular. It's very special. So I'm excited to start working on that. It's going to have a couple of challenges. There's another Chapter 4 boss, which is a lot more typical, but yeah. Start thinking about it. And let me see. So we're gonna try to get this PR'd today as well. Apparently the last time I submitted this, it couldn't compile. That's... odd? It failed at retrieving something. Maybe I, like, broke the firewall or something. That's what it looks like to me. Oh, no matching overloaded function for and place back and lightning bolt. I envy your ability to vocalize your thought process. I tend to look like a drone when I stream. I think that's the only way to, like, be at least semi-entertaining as a programmer is if you can actually, like, announce what the heck you're doing, because if you can't, then yeah, like you said, right? We do have to update this. Okay, so this is where we actually generate the... Oh, this is for the lightning bolt ability for the player. So like I said, this got used in another place, which is why I couldn't just set the parameter directly, like hardcode it, is because in here it's a little different. So we're only generating 1 lightning bolt from this lightning bolt emitter, the player's version. So that's where that comes in. Yeah. It also comes from the fact that I've been streaming programming for so long during the Justin TV days, so I had a lot of time to just learn how to vocalize. Apparently it's a really good ability to have for, like, interviewing, which I don't expect to really have any problems with, like, programming interviews per se. I'm usually pretty good about expressing how I feel and my thoughts and my knowledge when it comes to code, whether I know or not. So I don't really suspect I'm going to have much issues with that, and that is going to be relevant in the near future as I start job hunting myself. So I'm both excited and more curious where I'm going to end up, honestly. Oh. I think I should probably vary the... It does look kind of cool though, but I think I should vary the start and end pause of the random spikes a bit more, instead of just using the same values. So it'd be like, if we're calling... Wait, go back here. Or excuse me, go back in Lightning Emitter. So if we're doing this, we don't necessarily use end pause, we kind of just use... For each emit function, we randomize it. So interestingly enough, I should randomize it... Yeah, this is interesting. I don't... That's not my intention, but I have to think of how I want to do this, because right now it doesn't... The emitter doesn't know, like, the concept of, oh, I'm emitting from start pause to end pause in this particular radius. If I give it a radius, it could then use the start pause for that instead of using strictly the end position. Is that what I want is the question. Also, right now it triple emits even when it's going towards the player, which does look kind of cool, admittedly. Unintended, though. I don't know. I'll have to... Let's see here. Just trying to think if there is a way... Like, I either define another parameter that says, okay, you're going to use this specific thing, but we're thinking specifically of a lightning bolt emitter, right? So we kind of want it to randomize where it's going. Well, not necessarily. Not if we're, like, using it as is. Like, the end pause is supposed to be, this is where you're strictly drawing, from here to here. So if we say emit more than once, it can only emit in that direction and that position. It's just randomized in making, like, different turns. So the class behavior is conflicting with the idea of emitting more than once. It wasn't intended for that. It's like, I would have to define a way to say, hey, here are the positions you emit from. It's like, the emit function... Yeah, let's see here. Like, here's the example, right? Is... I guess the issue was when I designed the emitter system, it was meant to think of the emitters as like a static thing. It would be in one place, and it would cause particles to spawn from it, from that position. So trying to use it with movement now makes it a lot harder. It's like I'm trying to fit a square in a circular hole. It doesn't quite fit. So what I really need to do is I need to call the emit function multiple times manually. Instead of letting the frequency be controlled by the emitter, just emit them myself from the thunder orb. Because as long as the thunder orb is alive, the emitter is just there to say this particle's getting shot out. It just so happened I had a lightning bolt emitter, so I went ahead and used it. But I'm starting to see the way I initially designed this class is not quite what I need, which means I either design a different lightning orb emitter that does exactly what I want, or I instead relinquish control and say, okay, the frequency is gonna be like infinity, so it never fires, and I manually fire it inside the thunder orb. So the thunder orb essentially becomes the emitter for that functionality. I think that's probably the avenue I'm gonna go down, simply because I already do that manually in a couple places, so I'm already doing I'm like halfway already. Thank you, Moros. You have a good one. Thanks for stopping by. So I think that's the plan of attack. Can I implement it really quick? Let's give it a shot. So instead, we're going to make... Yeah, because I have to go pretty soon, but instead of setting the frequency to this, I'm now going to set it to infinity. And because we're setting it to infinity, the emitter will never fire. And so, since it doesn't fire, we're now completely in control of it firing ourselves. So we will do this on a tick basis. We'll make a new tick timer called, like, lightning bolt tick timer. And I'll have to implement that here. Or somewhere. I don't see where damage tick timer is. Where is this coming from? Oh, it's from the thunder orb, not the emitter. Duh. Thunder orb is an effect, so we're in the effect.h file. Yes, here we go. So, at least I thought it was in here. Now I'm just confused. Is it a bullet? No, it's... Oh, it's a homing bullet. It is a bullet. Okay. So it's under bullet types.h. Okay, that makes more sense. Okay, so here we are, Thunder Orb. Instead, we're gonna add a new tick timer and call it Lightning Tick Timer. So for the Lightning Tick Timer, it will count down just like the damage tick timer, and when it hits 0, it's going to produce a lightning bolt from its start position going to any random position. We already chose a random position right here, so we can just do that. We don't even have to do this anymore, I don't think. I mean, we could, and then we can just call draw lightning bolt using that position, that's fine. And then we have to reset the timer by upping it by the amount we care about, which isn't the tick rate anymore. It is the lightning bolt tick rate. And then that will continue forever. So that kind of gives us what we want. And then we have to loop it because we want to do it 3 times in a row, but we want to randomize it each time. So the lightning bolt position is going to change randomly each time. And we will iterate 3 times. So standard ranges iota view from 0 to 3. Only increase the tick timer back once. And we should be okay there. I think that's all we have to do for that implementation. Essentially, it will look the same, but at the very least now, we have more control over the actual lightnings going off in random directions. So I think I'll like that a lot better. Maybe, if we want to, we'll first determine if there are any hurt targets, and if there are none, then we'll do this. So maybe, because we'll end up in that same situation where we'll draw random bolts, but then we'll draw one towards the player. So we might do that, but other than that, this is effectively doing the same thing as if I was using the automated versions of the lightning bolt emitter. So I think we're okay now, hopefully. I kind of added this extra functionality for no reason, but it comes to show that sometimes trying to reuse old stuff you made doesn't quite work out when you have to start implementing a lot of new complicated functionality, and then you realize, well, if I do that, it will break how it's supposed to be used for another location in code, which just means I had to make a separate one anyways. So yeah. Okay, this looks a lot more like what I want, but again, this like one that's following the player, once it gets close, it should be emitting them at the player, right? I think that's what we would prefer. So again, if we want to real quick, let's just go ahead and say, if we don't find any hurt targets, then we can do this. So no matter if the tick timer is valid or not, we're gonna first find hurt targets. So it's like, we know both of these, this is kind of tricky, because if I do in the update function, I want to say that this is kind of expensive. Also, it's not really a good idea to do this in here. Maybe not. Maybe it's okay. But like, we don't want to hurt, right? We want to do get targets in range. And then based on how many targets are in range, we determine, okay, well, then we either draw a lightning bolt at that position, or we go ahead and proceed with drawing them in random positions. So we can do that. So instead of writing start pause here, it's going to be pause, and then it's going to, the range is just going to be, I guess lightning bolt random pause, because it will be random based on the radius. Yeah, settings.range here, whatever this was, that's technically the radius. So we can actually just measure the distance from the random pause to pause. And then from there, we can see if we found any targets. And if we did, those are the targets we're going to hurt. So do we then just directly say they're hurt now? I guess so. So we would say for, in this case, this returns a vector of entities. So we're going to look at the entity, and we're going to see if they are friendly or not. So we're filtering based on, here, let's do this. We're going to make a view out of this. Standard views, filter. And the filter we're going to use this time is if ent. So if it's a monster, so we have no way to determine if it's a monster or not. So that's interesting. What about is friendly? We don't have that either. I think is friendly would be a good way to do this. We can just say return ent.isFriendly is equal to friendly. Because if we do that, so in other words, if it's friendly, actually let's say not equal to, right? So let's say the friendly flag is friendly, right? And is friendly returns not friendly. That means this entity can get hurt because the bullet is friendly and the monster is not friendly. Then that means that it should be getting hurt. But if the bullet or the thunder orb is a monster, so it's non-friendly, then the only targets we're interested in are friendly targets. So that's the logic there. So let's go into the entity header and let's implement that real quick. Right here, it'll be a const friendly type returning is friendly. The function should be const. It's not going to be modifying anything about itself. And then inside the source file, we're going to go ahead and write the implementation for it real quick. So basically, we have two options here. Either it's going to be true, it's going to return non-friendly or friendly. If it's a player, it returns friendly. Otherwise, it returns non-friendly. Very easy. So we're going to look up here and say, if is player, if it's a player pointer, return friendly type, or we can return friendly. I just don't have the include in yet, but this is basically what the code's going to be. And then for anything else, it's non-friendly. Like so. So let's go ahead and add the include for this real quick, which is called friendly type. Include friendly type.h. Maybe. There we go. And then we should be good to go. Cool. So now that that's implemented, we can go back to Thunder Orb. And again, we're filtering like so. And we have to pass in the friendly flag here from the original instance. Pass by reference. And finally, now that we have our view, we're gonna have to iterate through these guys. And for each one of those, we're going to execute this. So it's not gonna, we're not gonna need the hurt targets thing anymore. And instead of for each on hurt targets, we just call hurt on whatever target is here. Now I don't think we have a hurt function for this yet, so that's gonna be another problem. So we don't need that. Let me see here. This is that not right? Does it not, is it not found targets are const. Oh, okay. I think that's why. So it returns a const entity, which is okay. And then from there, we just need to hurt the entity. So I don't think we have a hurt. Oh, we do have a hurt function. Okay, cool. So we need to utilize that with whatever hurt parameters we used before. So I'm just going to copy these because I think it's going to be mostly the same. Maybe there's going to be some subtle differences. So we are going to need everything from this object. I'll probably just pass or go completely by reference here. But we can't work on this from a const point of view. So this needs to not be const. So that these don't have to be const, so that we can actually call hurt. And then the rest should fall into place. And then let's see here. First is the amount of damage, which is going to be this value right here. We don't need a position because this isn't a range. We need the on upper level flag, the Z flag, and any additional hurt flags, which none are going to be included by default. And so we hurt the target while also drawing a lightning bolt towards that entity. Maybe we can draw 3. So let's go ahead and repeat this 3 times in a row. So that kind of works like it did before. And then finally, if there were no found targets, so if regardless if the tick timer has passed, we go in here, but only do this if found targets.size is equal to 0. We don't care if there are no targets in range, or we do care if there are no targets in range, because we will then only draw it at that moment. So I think we're good to go now. That was a lot in a short amount of time, but yeah. Overall, we were generating basically the same exact effects that we wanted. The same behaviors as before, but now we're manually doing all the draw lightning bolt stuff. I moved the target detection out to here so that we can see, or we can verify that we've found or not found targets within range this way. So it kind of works out. And it is about time for me to call it, so right after this finishes building, we'll test it real quick. Even if it doesn't work, we'll fix up the rest tomorrow. But I think we did a pretty good job with just rolling with the punches. That looks pretty good code to me, just reviewing it. Again, this was a little confusing, but is friendly. So yeah, if the opposite is true, right? If it's a player, then the bull has to be a monster in order for us to care about being a found target. And same with the other way around. Now, this actually means it will attach to stuff. Yeah, so we do have to provide like a filtered version of this that doesn't have like a bunch of entities tied to it. So that's interesting. Maybe I need to fix that real quick. Yeah, because right now, let's say... Excuse me. Let's say there's a monster nearby. If there's a monster nearby, then it's going to latch onto that now, because it's considered an entity. Well, actually, it won't latch onto it, but it also will draw nothing, right? Because it found targets, but the targets aren't the targets we're looking for, so we have some messed up logic there. So we have to fix that at least, and then we should be good. But yeah, let's see. So it should produce like no lightning bolt when it's super close to the monster, and then once it gets farther enough away, it should produce one, and then it'll latch out to the player when it's very close by. Oh, it's actually not showing up at all for the player, which is interesting. At least the damage is going out. Okay. So we'll figure out the rest tomorrow. We got most of the core in. Just need to do a little bit more of the lightning bolt shenanigans, and we should be okay. I think it's not supposed to be target. I think it's supposed to be ent. Because target is something else, right? Yeah, target would be the player position, which is not necessarily right. It should be ent get pause. Anyways, for those of you that tuned in today, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. It was kind of a short coding stream, but we'll be back tomorrow to do some more. Hope y'all have a good one. Day or night, wherever you might be. Take care. Bye-bye.